afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Moving Markets Podcast. It is Monday, July the 21st, 2025. I am your host, Jeffrey Dunyan. Glad to have you here on a Monday. I am recording this when there is about 40 minutes left until the close of the market today. So out here on the West Coast, where I am right now, it is about 12:20. Means it's about 3:20 on the East Coast. And those of you in between, you can figure out the math, but most likely you're listening to this as a recording and it doesn't matter exactly what time I did it. So anyway, stock markets, the three major indexes having a good solid day today. I would say nothing like over the top spectacular. The Dow Jones up 92, the S&P up 20, the Nasdaq up 112. But these are, at least for the S&P and the Nasdaq, I think every time they finish to the upside now, is um, a new high for these indexes. So certainly on the S&P, if it finishes today where it's at, and it's down a ways from how high it's been, but if it finishes where it's at, that's a new all-time high close. And same thing with the Nasdaq, new all-time high close if in fact it finishes where it's at today. The Dow, I think, still has a little ways to go to hit an all-time high, but having a solid day. Like I said, nothing overly spectacular, but certainly a solid day. And like I said, there's still about 40 minutes left to go. All three of these indexes have been higher than they are right now. If we look at a one-day chart on any one of them, you'll see that they're down a little bit from their intraday high, but like I said, still having good solid days going on across the board on these indexes. So we'll take it, and hopefully it'll finish that way. Hopefully they'll all three finish strong, and that would be a good thing. The news driving the markets today, I got to tell you, I think it's more the absence of news that is causing things to be moving up. I think you've got anticipation that is going to build over these next 2 weeks for this August 1st deadline on trade deals. I think it was Scott Bessent came out over the weekend. And this is a different article right here, but this is Scott Bessent. I think Scott Bessent came out over the weekend and said, we'll be impressed with how many deals are going to get done. And there's a lot being worked on, a lot being negotiated right now. I hope he's right. I genuinely hope he's right. There is a tendency at times in the Trump administration for there to be a lot of talk, and then things don't end up quite as exciting as what people were hopeful for. So I am hoping that is not the case this time around, that doesn't turn out to be what actually happens. We'll see. We'll see how things shake out. I think we will finish to the upside today. I don't think anything's going to happen, literally in the next 40 minutes of trading that's going to, flip everything in the market on its head. But the rest of the week will be interesting. This week is going to be driven from here out primarily on earnings. We've got a big week in front of us as far as earnings are concerned. And it should be exciting. The earnings, we had the banks that reported last week. They all reported pretty good, but there was a little bit of softness in the trading, so to speak, after the banks reported. And I think you could see that with some of the big tech companies. This week, we've got Tesla and Alphabet both reporting after the market closes on Wednesday. And then next week, you've got the likes of Microsoft, Amazon. I know there's some other ones in there, some other big ones. MicroStrategies is in there. The first of the week after that, Palantir. I'm trying to think in terms of some of the companies that we specifically trade. Texas Instrument, we put a new trade on there for the Triple Play members this morning, got filled on that one. They report, I think, also on Wednesday. I might be wrong on that one, but I know they do report this week. So it's going to be a big week. This week and next are going to be huge weeks for earnings. I forgot next week you've got ExxonMobil and Chevron, Texaco both report next week, so those will be big as well. As far as our trading goes, We sent out a new trade for the Signal newsletter a little bit earlier today than normally, and it was kind of a no-brainer. We did this for the Triple Play members last week as kind of a bonus trade for Discord followers only. The strike prices were a little bit different for what we sent out for the Safe Option Strategies regular core members today, but it's a long iron condor on Tesla because I genuinely believe that when they give their report on Wednesday after the close, they're either going to, at a minimum, come back up here and test this 360 to 370 range, the more recent resistance that they've been pushing up against, or they're going to drop at the very least back down to 290. I think if they miss on earnings, they're probably hitting 270 or maybe testing their lows from earlier in the year around 230. I tend to lean towards it being a more optimistic report simply because Elon Musk is back at Tesla, giving his full time and attention to Tesla and Starlink and Neuralink, and I think investors are going to see that as a positive thing. And I think he's going to have a way to, even if the numbers are not stellar, like out of this world incredible, no pun intended, maybe a little pun intended with Starlink. Even if the numbers are not absolutely mind blowing numbers, I think Elon's presence and the way he'll maybe spend some optimism into it is probably going to bode well for the company. I think you are going to see them moving back to 370 and maybe pushing back up towards 400 again in a very short order. That's what I anticipate happening. Alphabet is also going to report on Wednesday. I've heard a couple of different people are expecting a little bit of a disappointment, and I don't know how much weight I put in this personally. We've got a long iron condor on Alphabet in the Triple Play program. I don't care which way they move. I think they're more than capable of moving well beyond the strike price of our short call or well below the strike price of our short put. But I've heard a couple people down a little bit on Google and think that Google is becoming less of a growth company and more of a value company, meaning it's not a bad thing to own Google stock. They're probably going to continue to rise, but they may not have the sharp rises and the really big, strong moves that they have been accustomed to in the past. So I think that will honestly be kind of interesting to see what Google does. They might report some good numbers, but not have the ability to guide real strong. And so you could see something go a little wonky there. So new trade on Tesla for the regular spread trade SOS members. New trades on Alphabet, Texas Instrument, and I also did an in the money bull call. This is for the Triple Play members. I did an in the money bull call on MicroStrategies. And that is quite honestly because I think they're going to have the ability to hold what should be at least a near-term level of support right there at 420. They didn't break over it previously. They fell back below. They struggled a couple of times to get over it. And now that they've broken over it, even though they came down and tested on Friday, they bounced right off of it. And then today they're having a decent up day, not a huge. They were up quite a bit more earlier in the day, but they're having a very solid up day. And I think crypto is only going to grow and get stronger, all the different cryptocurrencies. So I think MicroStrategy, I don't think it'll be too hard for them to hold at or above 420 until the end of the week. So an in the money bull call on that was our third trade on the Triple Play side of things. CrowdStrike looking much improved today. Definitely closer to where we need it to be at one time today. They were up really nicely. They're not up near their session highs, but still a good solid 2 days of movement up. Some movement up on Friday, some more movement up today. I think they'll go back. They got right up to 490 today. In fact, they just touched over 490 very briefly before they backed off. I do think by the end of this week, they will be back above 490 and we'll be able to get out of our trade at a break even, if not with a little bit of profit. Caller trades on the caller trade front. I'm going to send out adjustments today for Bank of America because we have puts expiring at the end of the week. CoreWeave, I think we're still set pretty good. I will probably adjust the put side of that trade. Nothing needs to be done with Ford right now. NVIDIA will send out an adjustment today or tomorrow. Palantir, we've got long puts that go out until August 1st. Those basically expire the Friday before they report earnings. We'll probably adjust that one. If not this week, we'll make an adjustment to it very soon. I mean, if not today, this week for sure. We did send out an adjustment on Snap. I just haven't updated it right here. SoFi, we got to roll our short calls and our long puts. I'll make an adjustment to SoFi because they report next week, and then Uber. We let long puts expire? They were out of the money, so that won't hurt our trade. Those are just basically going to be a zero for expiring on Friday. We'll add some new long puts and roll short calls right away. So a lot of activity with collar trades for this week. And I do mean a lot of activity. We'll probably be adjusting all but a couple of our collar trades over the course of the next couple of days, and then maybe make some more adjustments following each one of their earnings, depending on which direction the stock goes. But all in all, I think we're looking really good. The CrowdStrike trade on the triple play side of things is the only trade that really looks kind of ugly right now. It doesn't look as bad on the regular spread trade side. And I'm still pretty confident that CrowdStrike comes back and comes back pretty strong. I've got to update everything. I actually have this sheet updated. That just obviously hasn't refreshed right now. But I do think by the end of the week, we're going to be in good shape on CrowdStrike, hopefully not have to adjust it again. So we'll see how that goes. But I think that's all I have for today. With one, let me recant that. Scratch what I just said. That's not all I have today. So as many of you know, because I made mention of it a week ago or so, last week, my wife and I drove out to California. My oldest daughter just had her first child. They had a baby boy on Wednesday. Mom and baby are doing fantastic. Dad, of course, is doing well, and Grandma and Grandpa couldn't be happier and couldn't be more proud. We're just ecstatic. But we are staying with my daughter for the next couple of weeks. She's got a nice little setup for me here to do my work, but it's not a very big apartment, and obviously I am away from my office. That creates a dilemma for doing podcasts in the morning, 30 minutes after the market opens. So for this week and next week, because we are here all this week, we are here all next week, and then driving home over that following weekend. For the rest of this week and for all of next week, I am going to do the podcast in the afternoon. I'm going to do it, and I might be at a little bit different time each day, which means I'm not going to be able to give you the benefit of me being live and you being able to jump online with me live. I'm going to be recording these anytime from an hour before to an hour after the market opens. And it's largely going to depend on people here in the apartment and what their sleep schedule is like. So I know that's a little bit challenging. I know that's a little bit tricky, and I'm apologizing, but this is being done out of necessity this way. So I'm going to ask that you bear with me. This will only be for a couple of weeks, but for the remainder of this week, for all of next week, no live podcasts in the morning, but I will record a podcast each day. It'll probably be around the close of the market. So I'll give a couple more reminders of that as I record the next 2 or 3 of these. But in the meantime, I hope you had a great weekend. Hope you have a great rest of your day today. And look for a recording sometime around the time the market closes tomorrow for our next podcast. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye.